The National Electrical Code, or NEC, defines a damp location as an outdoor area where weather conditions are such that moisture can condense on, drip on, or penetrate outdoor electrical equipment or wiring. For 120-volt, 15-amp outlets installed in damp locations, the NEC requires the use of an in-use cover, also known as a weatherproof receptacle cover. This requirement is stated in NEC 406.8 A1, which states that receptacles installed in damp locations shall be listed for use in damp locations, and NEC 406.8 C, which states that receptacles installed in damp locations shall have an enclosure that is provided with a cover that is weatherproof when the receptacle is plugged in. If an outlet is installed under an overhang on a porch, while the overhang provides some protection from rain and snow, it may not provide complete protection from condensation and moisture. Therefore, the outlet should be considered to be in a damp location and should require an in-use cover. Many inspectors have similar experiences when interpreting the NEC for outdoor outlets. Some inspectors may be more lenient in cases where the outlet is under a substantial overhang, but the standard interpretation is that any outdoor outlet that could potentially be exposed to moisture requires an in-use cover. To convince an inspection department, you could present the following arguments. Firstly, the NEC definition of a damp location includes areas where moisture can penetrate equipment or wiring. Condensation and moisture can easily penetrate an outlet that is not protected by a weatherproof cover. Secondly, the overhang on the porch provides some protection, but it does not eliminate the potential for moisture exposure. Rain and snow can blow sideways or be driven by wind under the overhang. Thirdly, allowing outlets to be installed in damp locations without weatherproof covers would create a safety hazard and could lead to electrical shock or fire. Based on the NEC requirements and the potential for moisture exposure, it is highly likely that the inspection department will uphold its requirement for an in-use cover on an outdoor outlet under the porch. The primary concern is always safety, and the in-use cover is a relatively inexpensive way to mitigate the risk of electrical hazards in damp locations. In understanding the application of NEC 406.8 A1 and NEC 406.8 C, several factors need to be considered to ensure proper installation and safety. Firstly, the definition of a damp location is crucial. The NEC doesn't only consider direct exposure to rain or snow, it also includes areas where moisture can condense or penetrate. This is why an outlet under a porch, even with a significant overhang, is often classified as a damp location. The purpose of the in-use cover, or weatherproof while in use cover, is to provide protection even when an appliance is plugged into the outlet. Standard weatherproof covers only offer protection when the outlet is not in use. The in-use cover creates a sealed environment, preventing moisture from entering the receptacle and causing corrosion, short circuits, or electrical shock. The specific requirements of NEC 406.8 C dictate that the cover must be weatherproof when the receptacle is in use. This means it must be able to withstand exposure to rain, snow, and other environmental factors without allowing moisture to reach the electrical connections. When selecting an in-use cover, it is essential to ensure it is listed for use in damp locations, as stated in NEC 406.8 A1. This listing indicates that the cover has been tested and certified to meet the requirements for protection against moisture. Installation of the in-use cover must be done correctly to ensure its effectiveness. This includes properly sealing the cover to the mounting surface and ensuring that all screws and fasteners are tightened to prevent moisture from entering. It is also important to select the correct size of in-use cover for the specific receptacle being used. The cover should completely enclose the receptacle and any attached cord, providing a tight seal. Local amendments to the NEC can sometimes impact the interpretation and enforcement of these rules. It is always advisable to consult with the local electrical inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. For example, some jurisdictions may have stricter requirements for outdoor outlets in damp locations, while others may offer more lenient interpretations based on specific site conditions. Understanding the rationale behind the code requirements can help in discussions with inspection departments. The primary goal of the NEC is to ensure electrical safety, and the requirements for in-use covers in damp locations are intended to prevent electrical hazards. By explaining how the in-use cover protects against moisture and reduces the risk of electrical shock or fire, it may be possible to convince an inspector that the installation meets the intent of the code, even if there are minor deviations from the standard interpretation. Consider these additional points to clarify the requirements and potential arguments related to in-use covers for outdoor outlets. Firstly, the definition of damp versus wet locations. The NEC distinguishes between damp and wet locations. A wet location is defined as an area subject to saturation with water or other liquids, such as direct exposure to rain or being regularly washed. Damp locations, on the other hand, are areas where moisture is present but not to the same extent as wet locations. This distinction is important because the requirements for electrical equipment in wet locations are generally more stringent than those for damp locations. Secondly, consider the degree of protection provided by the overhang. While a 10-foot overhang provides some protection, it is unlikely to completely eliminate the potential for moisture exposure. Wind-driven rain and snow can easily reach the outlet, especially during storms. Condensation can also form on the outlet and wiring due to temperature changes. Thirdly, consider the potential consequences of non-compliance. Failure to comply with the NEC requirements for damp locations can result in electrical hazards such as short circuits, ground faults, and electrical shock. It can also lead to equipment damage and increased maintenance costs. Fourthly, documentation and manufacturer specifications are important. When selecting and installing in-use covers, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and ensure that the cover is properly listed and labeled for use in damp locations. Documentation from the manufacturer can also be helpful in demonstrating compliance with the NEC requirements. Fifthly, professional judgment and experience play a role. While the NEC provides specific guidelines, there is also room for professional judgment and experience in interpreting and applying the code. Electrical inspectors may consider factors such as the local climate, the orientation of the building, and the specific details of the installation when determining whether an in-use cover is required. Sixthly, consider the impact of evolving technologies. As new electrical products and installation methods become available, the NEC is constantly updated to reflect these changes. It is important to stay informed about the latest revisions to the code and to adapt installation practices accordingly. Seventhly, engage in open communication with the inspection department. Approaching the inspection department with a collaborative and problem-solving attitude can be helpful in resolving any disagreements about code interpretation. Providing clear and concise explanations of the installation and the reasons for choosing a particular approach can help to build trust and understanding. Eighthly, consider the cost-benefit analysis. While in-use covers may add a small amount to the overall cost of an electrical installation, they provide a significant benefit in terms of safety and reliability. The cost of an in-use cover is minimal compared to the potential cost of electrical repairs, medical expenses, or property damage resulting from an electrical hazard. Ninthly, remember that the ultimate goal is safety. The NEC requirements for electrical installations are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. While there may be some debate about the interpretation of specific code provisions, the overriding concern should always be to ensure that the installation is safe and reliable. Tenthly, consider the specific language of NEC 406.9 regarding boxes. This section provides requirements for outlet boxes in damp or wet locations. While the original question focused on the in-use cover, the condition of the box itself is also relevant. The box must be suitable for the environment, typically meaning it is made of a non-corroding material or has a corrosion-resistant coating. 11thly, consider ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection. Even with an in-use cover, a GFCI protective receptacle is highly recommended for outdoor outlets in damp locations. GFCI protection provides an additional layer of safety by quickly interrupting the circuit if a ground fault is detected, reducing the risk of electrical shock. 12thly, consider the orientation of the receptacle. The orientation of the receptacle can also affect its susceptibility to moisture. If the receptacle is mounted horizontally, it may be more likely to collect water than if it is mounted vertically. 13thly, consider the use of sealants. Using a sealant around the edges of the in-use cover can help to prevent moisture from entering the outlet box. However, it is important to use a sealant that is compatible with the materials of the cover and the box to avoid damaging either component. 14thly, consider the potential for ice formation. In cold climates, ice can form inside outlet boxes, especially if moisture is present. Ice formation can damage the receptacle and wiring, and it can also create a safety hazard. In such cases, additional measures may be necessary to prevent ice formation, such as using a heated outlet box or a waterproof enclosure. 15thly, consider the long-term effects of moisture exposure. Even if an outlet appears to be protected from direct rain or snow, repeated exposure to moisture can eventually cause corrosion and damage to the receptacle and wiring. Regular inspections and maintenance can help to identify and address any problems before they become serious. 16thly, consider the specific type of receptacle being used. Some receptacles are designed to be more resistant to moisture than others. For example, receptacles with corrosion-resistant contacts and a sealed construction are better suited for use in damp locations. 17thly, consider the location of the outlet relative to other features. The location of the outlet relative to other features, such as landscaping or sprinkler systems, can also affect its susceptibility to moisture. For example, an outlet located near a sprinkler head may be more likely to be exposed to water than an outlet located in a drier area. 18thly, consider the potential for vandalism. In some cases, outdoor outlets may be subject to vandalism. Vandalism can damage the in-use cover and expose the receptacle to moisture and other hazards. In such cases, it may be necessary to install additional protection, such as a lockable cover or a security camera. 19thly, consider the importance of proper wiring methods. The wiring methods used to connect the outlet must also be suitable for damp locations. This includes using the appropriate type of cable or conduit and ensuring that all connections are properly sealed to prevent moisture from entering. 20thly, consider that the NEC is not a design manual. The NEC provides minimum requirements for electrical installations, but it is not a design manual. It is the responsibility of the electrical designer to ensure that the installation meets the specific needs of the application and complies with all applicable codes and standards. Remember, the goal is always to provide a safe and reliable electrical installation that protects people and property from electrical hazards.